Good afternoon, and you're just in time for KBC's Lunchtime News on this, the 30th of October 2023. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. My co-anchor is Brian Muraru. This afternoon, we're keeping tabs on the national examinations from the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education to KPSEA, all the way to the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. They're sitting for their national examinations. We have seen the president, of course, making rounds on various institutions so as to bring us up to speed with what is happening in the education sector. And we start on that particular note where I want to give you a status update all the way from Kisumu. I do understand that we do have our reporter Wycliffe. Wycliffe, good afternoon and good to have you on this KBC's Lunchtime News on this, the 30th of October. What can you tell us about the preparations and for the examinations that are ongoing in Kisumu County?
Thank you so much, and a very good afternoon to you, Abdi. Back in Nairobi, it is all about the KCP and KPSEA examination that have kicked on today, this morning. And in Kisumu, what we can report so far, remember, we have come to our viewers live since morning, since the time the containers were opened exactly at 6, and that was followed by subsequent distribution of the examination materials from that point of storage to various examination centers. And since that moment, we have been working and conducting spot check in different examination centers, and what we can report so far is that the exercise, since it rolled out, has been going on very smoothly. And at one point, we were joined by the Sub-County Director of Education for Kisumu Central, that is Mr. Charles Sangela, who is also conducting basically just a spot check, just to inspect how the exercise is rolling on, and is in the company of the security team in Kisumu County and also other officials from the Ministry of Education, just to ensure that the exercise here, regarding the KPSEA and KCPE examination, is going on smoothly. The reason we are here, this, as you can see on the background, this is Golden Elite Primary and Junior Secondary Academy School. And actually, the reason we are here is that a candidate from this particular center is sitting the examination from the hospital. This is one of the four peculiar cases that we can report to, because not really peculiar as such, in that sense that this is that candidate sitting the examination from the Aga Khan Hospital, but other 3 candidates are also sitting the examination from the Kisumu Children Remand Center. Though the exercise kicked on smoothly, and even those cases that we have, we can't really report any sort of malpractice. And just before we started this live update, I was on phone with the Regional Director of Education, that is Mr. Al Nelson Sefuna. He's the RDE for Nyanza region, and he's saying since the examination, the exercise rolled out, he has not received any report of any peculiar incident regarding malpractice or anything of the sort. And for that, we can report that so far, so good regarding the exercise. You do remember that actually Kisumu was one of the areas that was marked for special cases in the event that there could be some sort of rainfall that could have resulted into flooding, especially the areas of Nyando and Moroni. Those are some of the areas that are notable in terms of flooding. But so far, we can say the weather is perfect, and the candidates have been writing their examinations in a perfect environment. And basically, Abdi, we can say so far, so good. In case of any incident, of course, we are on the ground and we are in constant communication with the center managers and the officials that are responsible for monitoring this examination. And in case any incident, of course, we are very much alive to it, and we will be able to update our viewers promptly. For now, let me just hand it back to you, Abdi, for the rest of the bulletin.
Thank you so much. That is our senior reporter from Kisumu, Wycliffe. Thank you so much, and we do hope a quick recovery to that particular one student that you just brought us up to speed from Golden Elite School that is currently hospitalized and doing that particular examinations from the hospital. That is from Kisumu. Of course, later on, we'll also have an update here in the capital as well as in Mombasa County. Now, of course, what we're focusing this particular afternoon is that President William Ruto has maintained that the government will support all candidates candidates countrywide and ensure a smooth 100% curriculum transition. Speaking at Kikuyu Township Primary School in Kikuyu, Kiambu County, while overseeing the commencement of the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education KCPE and the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment KBC examinations this morning, President Ruto assured candidates that they have the government and the country's full support going forward, adding that there is enough placement in school. We'll have that story for you in just a while, but let's give you a security update all the way from Samburu County, where residents of Losuk, Samburu County, took to the streets to protest the rising cases of insecurity in the region. Samburu County Woman Member of Parliament, that is Pauline Leguris, led the demonstration in which residents decried the perceived laxity of the security agencies. Now, the protests were preceded by prayers of Losuk Center, where they aggrieved residents prayed for peace following numerous incidents of violence perpetrated by bandits.
Jeshi ambaye pokoto anapita karibu na jeshi kuja kuattack, hakuna siku moja wameintercept. Ng'ombe inateremshwa karibu na kambi, hakuna siku wamerudisha. Na pokoto wakikuja kipa ng'ombe wanateremsha kupita karibu na kambi ya jeshi. Sasa tunauliza jeshi wanafanya nini? Nataka kuambia Duale, wacha kutumia pesa ya serikali bure. Ondoa jeshi, peleka.
Hatuwezi kaa kutuona watu wetu wenye walituchagua hapa wakilia hapa, watu wazima wakililia hapa, na tuko na serikali na hakuna kitu wanafanya.
5 minutes past the hour. That is just a tip of the iceberg of what we have prepared for you. As promised, we'll have our reporters all the way. You've just heard from Kisumu to Mombasa and here in the capital on the latest on KCPE and KBC. We're also keeping tabs on the latest security matters. That is from Samburu, Turkana, all the way to the border of Meru and Isiolo. Don't go too far. We still have more for you on the other side of the break.
Namkumbuke zebra ni rembo, lakini punda ndio ilipelekwa nyumbani.
Wewe ulisoma wewe?
Unaona mimi nakupima, si mimi nilisomea.
Sijai na classmate wako?
Kwani nilikuwa nasomea deke.
Imagine it was unexpected.
Kabisa?
Very.
Tugerishe box ya mtu kufanya nini?
Ni panyambada pala.
Unapata ka box kameka hivi.
Oh, hii ni robbery mnaongelea. Ringtone ndio chama. Shoot Satan.
Raila Odinga ukienda kumuongelesha inafaa uende ukijua sasa hiyo ukiongea naye nani yako ndani yake. Raila Odinga ndani yake ako na Raila, iko baba, iko Tinga, iko Gwambo.
President, wherever you are, please don't forget the promise.
Yeah. Hey! Magunzo wa Yesu hawa.
Ati
oe! Piga simu, pigia rafiki zako simu, wote leo waambie.
Yes, ndiye Bazu.
Bazu.
Ati Bazama Bazu.
Every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Catch the Chipukizi Show live on KBC Channel 1.
Kalamashaka, the legendary hip-hop crew from back in the day, started off the performances from the days of Nasinzia to Kwaheri and Salary, as well as many other songs in between.
Still in Kenya, especially now, we are more than welcoming of Kenyan artists and Kenyan music. Now more than ever, we want to dance to Kenyan music.
Dubbed the most unique nightlife in Nairobi, it was all about a fusion of music, festival and performing arts, where instead of circus acts being on stage, they were performing all around the audience, or rather together with the audience.
I don't know even how to say it, but let me tell you, whatever has happened here, circus. Salute.
Nilete at least mtu. Bwana, moja tu katika wanaume wote wenye wako duniani nipe moja. Enda kwa chai na mkate.
si pombe. Ndugu yangu wa kuzaliwa toka nitoke akaambua ati mimi ndio nimemroga ndio asipate watoto.
Sasa mezimwi na mitukula itakufuata.
Tambia yangu yote yani tumbo kinono hivi. Unataka kuniambia kabisa una hatabu unakuja tu unaingililia chakula ya mwenzako.
Wanakula hiyo pesa na mukaka.
Kiasa chini.
Unafanya mimi na budo kazi ndio unajifanya hapa ni kazi wewe.
Ati wewe nitakuboa moko.
Ndi pamoja.
Every time that I got sick, my mom told me to see the doctor. But the thing that she didn't tell me is that doctors, no matter how good they are, can't solve everything.
Do you still want to have a child?
Why was Jingjing buying high-risk stock? Did she need money? I looked through her stuff and found these pills. What are you doing?
Huh? Nothing at all.
What's that?
I just found this empty box. It looks expensive.
An empty box?
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. My co-anchor is Brian Muraru. Let's go to our top story this afternoon, where President William Ruto has maintained that the government will support all candidates countrywide and ensure a smooth 100% curriculum transition. Speaking at Kikuyu Township Primary School in Kikuyu, Kiambu County, while overseeing the commencement of the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education KCPE and the Kenya Primary School Assessment, which is KBC examinations, this morning, President Ruto assured candidates that they have the government and the country's full support going forward, adding that there is enough placement in schools.
There is no child in Kenya who will not have a place to move on and to progress their education into the next level. That is the confidence I want you. That is the confidence I want every child in Kenya, every candidate today to know that as they go into this exam, there is an opportunity for each and every one of you.
We are actually partnering with the Department of Education to show that we all want the integrity of our exams to be upheld and to be beyond reproach.
Now, still on examinations, the national examinations for the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education KCPE and Kenya Primary School Education Assessment KBC have kicked off in earnest today across the country, where both candidates commenced with the mathematics paper this morning. They will then write the English paper in the afternoon. This year's examinations have registered 1.4 million candidates for KCPE and 1.2 million for KBC. Our reporter Doreen Arange with the details of day one of the national examinations.
In Kericho County, the exams began amidst heightened security, with the Deputy County Commissioner Samuel Mutisia expressing high expectations of calm and warned of any malpractices.
Wamejitayarisha vya kutosha, na ile naomba ni center managers wote katika centers zetu za KBC na KCPE ambazo ni 68 waweze kuwa makinifu, waweze kufuatilia zile taratibu zimewekwa na NEC ili hiyo kazi kamilike vizuri.
Meanwhile, more than 49,000 candidates in Turkana County, including refugees and prisoners, are sitting the KCP and KBC exams this year, with the Turkana County Commissioner Jacob Ouma affirming that security has been beefed up, especially in areas where insecurity is rife.
Salama njuga na tumejifunga kibwebwe kuhakikisha kwamba kila kituo ambacho kinafanya mtihani kinalindwa sawa sawa, askari wasimamizi, na mahali panahitaji askari zaidi wa kuchunga yale maeneo, tupo na askari wa kutosha, ile kazi inafanya.
A total of 12,500 candidates and 13,000 candidates sit their KCP and KPSEA examinations respectively in Kirinyaga County, with County Commissioner Tobiko Nayoma saying they have deployed 600 security officers to cover the exam centers.
Askari wale tumedeploy ni 600 kuhakikisha kila center iko na askari wa kutosha, na pia sisi tuko na timu ya monitoring. Kumaliza hapa tunaenda kuangalia mashule tuone vile mtihani inaendelea.
The exams, which have begun today and are set to culminate on Wednesday, November 1st, with this year's KCP exams marking the exit of the 844 education systems in primary schools. Dorina Range for Lunchtime News.
That is the latest from the counties. Of course, do expect more in our subsequent bulletins as the 1.4 KCP students and 1.2 KPSEA students continue with their examinations. Also, what we're following up this particular afternoon is also the visit by the monarch led by King Charles III as well as his Queen Camilla. And of course, we want to get the latest from our very own Kipnusu, who I do understand is at State House Nairobi to also give us up to speed. I do understand we'll get a hold of our reporter, that is Timothy Kipnusu, to give us where the Queen and the King have reached. We also saw the President earlier. But we do have a special story that covered from the Mount Kenya region of this particular great country. You do know what happened between 1901 until 1963 when we got our independence. Our very own O'Brien visited the region to get the latest and how people feel when King Charles III and Queen Camilla are making to Kenya.
On a cold, chilly morning on 31st of January 1952, a sickly King George VI was at the Heathrow Airport to see his daughter Princess Elizabeth and her husband Prince Philip as they boarded a British Overseas Airways en route to Kenya. Little did they know that they were bidding goodbye to each other for the last time. Aged only 25 and completely inexperienced, the princess and her husband were en route to Kenya, New Zealand and Australia as part of a Commonwealth tour. However, this was never to be. After arriving in Nairobi, the princess was whisked by British forces who had been assigned to guard her entourage at a time when Mau Mau freedom fighters were raiding for a face-off with the British forces over land and labor exploitation.
I had a personal encounter, so I had the privilege of asking her how it was when she visited Kenya in 1952, and from her own mouth she told me she rode by train up to Ndarugu, and from there was by car to Nyeri and then to the treetops, and spent the night at the Sagana State Lodge. It brought back memories, because when I visited her at Thika Sports Club as chair, after her lunch date with us, she actually wrote 5 letters thanking the chair of Thika Sports Club for having hosted her at the club. Except for the date and the letterheads that were used, the wording was the same. When she went to Sagana State Lodge, she wrote a letter to Thika Sports Club saying, "I wish to thank you most sincerely for the wonderful hospitality that you gave me when I visited Thika Sports Club." Signed, Elizabeth II.
According to Dr. Nyamo Njoka, who is a cultural historian and a member of the Kikuyu Council of Elders, the princess boarded a train to Thika, where she was to inspect various British manufacturing interests before heading to Fort Hall, present-day Murang'a. However, the trip was deemed too dangerous, forcing the princess to change plans, opting to travel by road to Nyeri.
One thing I am sure is that she wasn't given the whole picture of what was happening in this country. Remember, Sir Evelyn Bering was brought from Malaysia to come and quell the uprising of the Agikuyu in Kenya. The late Sir Derek Erskine was brought from Palestine to come and quell the uprising of the Agikuyu against the colonial government. And when, this is what I have read, and when the two gentlemen met, they said, dealing with the Agikuyu, we only need 3 months, and we'll finish with them and go back to our stations. Unfortunately, it wasn't going to be that easy, because in 1956, Sir Oliver Lyttelton raised his hands in the British Parliament and confessed that the British war against the Agikuyu of Kenya, the Brits were not going to win. And that is when the Lyttelton Constitution was passed, giving the right to Africans to elect members to the Legislative Council.
The princes arrived at the treetops on the 2nd of February 1952, according to official records at the hotel. The British monarchy spent the day watching and counting wildlife at the treetops, where, according to records, 40 elephants were counted, amid waterbucks and 50 rhinos. On the 3rd of February 1952, Princess Elizabeth attended a Sunday service at the St. Philip's Anglican Church in Narumoru that lasted about 2 hours and 30 minutes.
They go to the coronation procession. I was 15 at the time, and with my dad and mum and my brother, we decided to go. We sort of spent a night sleeping on the streets of Nairobi, waiting for the next day for the procession. We obviously didn't go to the service in the Abbey, but we were among the crowds who were waiting and watching the procession, which was, for a 15-year-old kid, quite exciting.
Jim Barney, who is a member of the St. Philip's Church, says most of the items used during the service are still intact and kept in a safe location.
Well, I would expect him to refer back to the time his mother was here. I would expect him possibly to refer to the fact that over the years the British Army have been training here together with the Kenyan Army, so there's close ties there. And I'd hope he would want to strengthen those ties.
The church, which was opened in 1949, has maintained its Victorian design with its mahogany doors. Inside the church, an old piano and the large Bible that was read during the service are still intact, together with the pulpit. After the service, the royals retreated for lunch at the Narumoru River Lodge, which is less than 5 kilometers away. The hotel is still operational and welcoming guests. While the Narumoru River still flows, the famous trout fish, which was in abundance, is no more due to overfishing and pollution upstream. In the evening, the royals retreated to the treetops for a rest after a busy and a hectic day. Meanwhile, the Mau Mau fighters' call for freedom and land redistribution was growing and gaining popularity in central Kenya. Inside the 10 Downing Street in London, UK Prime Minister then Sir Winston Churchill was drawing up a plan on how to quell and suppress the Mau Mau uprising. On the 4th of February, the royals embarked on a tour of the expansive Abdiaziz National Park, visiting various points in the park, among them the fishing lounge, which was famous for trout fishing, and a vantage point for game viewing. Then, the UK royal family had a picnic lunch next to the Queen's Caves, which were also used by Mau Mau freedom fighters to organize and launch surprise attacks on British forces and members of the settler community, according to Geoffrey Kariuki, Customer Relations Officer at the Abdiaziz National Park.
These caves were discovered by the Mau Mau. This is where they used to hide through the caves, so that they could not be easily be spotted by the British forces. So this is where they used to hide. And during the time when the Queen was coming in, this is one of the places that they had the intention to bring her on her way to Treetops Lodge in 1952.
Princess Elizabeth and her entourage decided to come over here to have a look at the famous Magura Caves that were used by the Mau Mau fighters as a hideout. And exactly this location is where she was served her picnic lunch. And according to historians, Part of what was on the menu was smoked fish and mashed potatoes. And thereafter, she went down to have a look at the Magura Caves. And as she was coming up, these caves had already been renamed as the Queen Caves. Today, they're still as intact as they were back in 1952.
History tells us they were here for around 1.5 hours at most before they proceeded to the treetops, because by that time she was tiring and she was on her way to get to the hotel, because we are still around 46 kilometers away to where the treetops is.
The Princess and Prince Philip retreated to their room eating at the treetops for dinner. On the 5th day, the Princess spent the day meeting various dignitaries and getting briefs from senior colonial government officials. She also took time to visit the Sagana Fishing Lodge, now Sagana State Lodge, which had been donated to her by the colonial government as a wedding gift. For the last 3 years, the treetops has remained closed. And this is a hotel where Princess Elizabeth went to bed as a princess and woke up as a queen. This hotel carries so much history, not only for this country, but also for the British monarchy. And so the question is, for how long will this facility remain closed to the public? Meanwhile, at the Sandringham Royal Residence, the health situation of King George was getting worse, causing concern among his handlers. On the night of 5th February 1952, King George VI breathed his last at his Sandringham residence in Norfolk. British Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill was briefed and oversaw the operation codenamed Hyde Park Corner, meant to handle the news of his death. Meanwhile, in Nairobi at the Government House, now State House, a telegram was sent breaking the news of the death of the king. However, the telegram could not be decoded because the keys to the safe holding the code book were unavailable. On 6th of February 1952, report reached the Prince's Secretary Martin Chatteris about the king's death. A shocked Chatteris called Sagana State Lodge, where the monarch had gone to visit. He briefed Prince Philip about the king's death. However, the princess was not briefed about the death up until 2:45 p.m. when the prince gathered the courage to inform his wife about the unfortunate death of King George. The Outspan Hotel holds a special place in the British monarchy. It is here where Prince's Secretary Martin Chatteris was lodging back on the 6th of February 1952. He received a telegram informing him about the death of King George. And this is where he contacted Prince Philip, who was staying at the Sagana Fishing Lodge with his wife, Princess Elizabeth, to inform him about the death of King George. It is said that more communication came from London informing the Queen in waiting that she needed to return to England to prepare for the father's burial and the coronation ceremony. Elizabeth and her entourage drove to the Nanyuki airstrip, where she flew aboard an East African Airways Dakota to Entebbe, Uganda. After a 2-hour delay due to bad weather, the royals boarded another flight to Heathrow Airport in London. After the burial and coronation of the Queen, a state of emergency was declared in Kenya after Mau Mau freedom fighters increased their attacks on British installations and colonial officers. This led to mass incarceration of thousands of Kikuyus in Nyeri, Buu, Murang'a and Nyandarua districts.
Waigatirwo kwa 1952 tukiumirio ni thirikari ya muthungu tugicokio ku reserve kuria twathire kurio ni thina muingi muno tondu kuu ni kuo ndoneire ndutu ngirika ni ndutu muno na ng'aragu nyingi muno maitwaga githiaga kurimia ndia irio nigetha tuone irio ore agicoka akinyitwa akioho mieri 6 ni thirikari iyo ya muthungu ni undu wa guthi guturimiria irio ndia atari na pasi ya chibu.
Jogu Gethenji was only 8 years when his family was ripped apart by the colonial army. He remembers that day with a lot of pain and regret. The British army conducted major operations that resulted into the deaths of thousands of Kenyans.
Igimwira ere Kenya sore handu ha Ngeretha tondu akiri kingi ere Kenya sore tondu na gituri haki haria watihirio hatingicoka kiria watunyirwo gitingicoka narikia kuga sore arihe andu aria mateire indo ciao bururi tondu mari maturaga mandikagwo maritwo maturaga mathiaga kwiyandikithia maritwo ma abici.
Gavinji says for King Charles' trip to Kenya to count, the UK government needs to apologize to Kenyans for the heinous act committed by the colonial government when his mother Queen Elizabeth II ruled the monarchy. Today, as King Charles visits Kenya, many are waiting to see what legacy his trip to Kenya will leave, or will it just be another royal tour to a former colony by British monarchy? The fact that King Charles has picked Kenya as his first overseas trip to a Commonwealth country is a sign of the deep relations that exist between Kenya and the United Kingdom. For Channel 1, I'm O'Brien Kimani.
Well, that's a great piece from our very own O'Brien. Of course, do stick around for our subsequent bulletins. We do have a number of packages all the way from the East African Protectorate in the 1890s all the way until we reach to our 1963. But what I want to bring you up to speed is that we do have our very own, that is Timothy Kipnusu at State House Nairobi, to just bring us up to speed with what is happening there in State House Nairobi. We do understand that King Charles III and Queen, as well as the President, will be having a state banquet. Are they ready to host the King and the Queen? Kipnusu?
A very good afternoon, my colleague Abdiaziz Hashim there at the Broadcasting House in Nairobi. Yes, indeed, I'm coming to you live from the highest office in the land, State House Nairobi, where we are counting less than 8 hours for the King of United Kingdom, King Charles III, to make his way into this particular country, or rather to land in Kenya together with Queen Camilla, a couple. And of course, this is a very important and historic visit in the country. And here in State House, the preparations are in top gear. They're actually almost complete. The organizers of this particular event, they are doing their final touches to ensure that the 4 days official visit is actually seamless. And we've been here for the better part of today, and the preparations is just to understand this particular environment. Of course, we understand the President William Ruto will be hosting King Charles III for a state banquet together with Queen Camilla, and of course that this is very important. The time when he arrives in this particular place, of course, State House Nairobi, and we understand already the President has arrived coming from Athi River. My colleague Hashim, remember, this is a very important visit because it will seek to strengthen the bilateral ties, and areas of focus, of course, will be dealing with the climate crisis, and also understand the issues to do with the national security. We understand the King, together with the Queen, or their Majesties, will be visiting the Nairobi National Park to understand what the Kenya Wildlife Service or the conservation services is taking place there. And of course, we understand, more importantly, the King and the Queen will be paying their respect to the Commonwealth War Graves Commission Cemetery, and to understand what has been happening all through in the world wars that have been in this country, the First World War, the Second World War, of course, the 8 decades of the British colonial rule in this country. Of course, this visit is happening at a time when a number of organizations, particularly civil society organizations, are calling upon the King to ensure that there is compensation for those the atrocities and the repression that were meted on Kenyans when the British colony was in this particular country. And of course, we'll be here to understand when their Majesty will be arriving here, and we'll be able to update our viewers on what will be happening here in the highest office in the land. Back to you, my colleague Abdiaziz Hashim, the Broadcasting House.
Well, thank you so much. That is our very own Timothy Kipnusu at State House, Nairobi. You can see the completion of the state banquet that is going to welcome, of course, King Charles III and Queen Camilla. And that is where we do understand King Charles will be making his official speech. Let's do hope a public apology will be issued to that particular retrospect. I want to take you now live to another event that I do understand the Sports Cabinet Secretary, that is Ababu Namwamba, is currently addressing. It is the 6th edition of the Youth Connect Africa Summit 2023. Let's listen in.
To be delivered to you from San Francisco and pay for it directly, but it is impossible for you to go to a Ghanaian online platform and pay for something using the same platform for it to be delivered to you from Accra. How ludicrous does that sound? And so we want the young people of this continent to come together and imagine an Africa where they can bring down those restrictions and increase the volume of trade across this continent. You go to many international forums, you hear the volume of trade between Africa and the rest of the world, and then you compare intra-Africa trade happening amongst African countries. The volume is depressing. Borderlessness is something that we must be able to deliver. And the best people to imagine that borderlessness are the young people of this continent. And when you talk about the African Renaissance, I was dancing in my seat as I listened to Madalena speak. And I was saying, good people, 3 days ago, something really, really significant happened. Something really profound happened 3 days ago. Anybody who knows what happened about 3 days ago? No, that happened 2 days ago. I'm saying about 3 days ago. Yes?
Well, of course, that is the Youth and Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba just telling the youth to take up their role in the society. I want to take you now to another live event. I do understand that we do have our reporter, that is Trevor Ngendo, to bring us up to speed with what is happening with Innovation Week. Trevor, good afternoon. What more can you tell us? What innovations have been able to see in this year's convention?
A very good afternoon to you, Abdiaziz, Hashim. We are coming to you live from KCA University, where they are hosting the second Innovation Week here, where we have different innovators. It is the second Innovation Week and Industry Summit, bringing together various stakeholders in the technology world and also innovation. We have over 40 students who have registered for participation in this function. We have them lined up here, showcasing various innovations from technology to softwares to even agricultural inputs and livestock in agriculture, all forms, even in construction industry. We've seen quite an interesting robot there that can detect and also give updates on structural developments. All that is happening here at the KCA University on day 1 of 4 of all the innovations that will be happening here, the week-long innovation. We're sorry for the background noise, but joining me here now is the Deputy Vice Chancellor, flanked by various directors here, Professor Vincent Onywera, the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of Research, Innovation and Outreach. Thank you so much for joining us and welcoming us here at KCA University. Kindly bring us up to speed with what this is all about.
Thank you very much, and welcome to KCA University. We are very excited as a university to be celebrating the second KCA University Innovation Week and Industry Summit. This event is about bridging the gap between academia and industry. We have more than 50 exhibitors and innovators, as you have already seen, and we are aiming at providing a platform where innovators, young, talented entrepreneurs can be able to showcase the kind of work they are doing to spark creativity, innovation, and partnership. We are also using this event to strengthen the partnership between KCA University and the industry. We are also looking at encouraging and catalyzing entrepreneurship as a result of this event. And then finally, we hope that we will be able to create an enabling ecosystem that will move innovations from the idea to startup and eventually to commercialization.
So we really understand that, we're moving into a world of innovation, and especially this being a university, we understand that right now the job market is it's not like in those days when you'd get immediately out of university and you get hired. So how is this preparing the students in order to, sort of employ themselves and not rely on the white-collar jobs, or probably expect to be employed out here?
That's a good question. Our focus is ensuring that we create innovators and also job creators rather than job seekers. Some of the innovators we are seeing here, they're our students. They have not even graduated, but already they are CEOs, they are directors, and they have companies. In fact, they have already employed other people. So by creating this kind of an ecosystem and environment for partnership and collaboration and benchmarking, we are able to motivate and also to show our students that they don't have to wait for white-collar jobs. They don't have to wait for employment, because they can create employment. They can grab the opportunity and be able to make a living out of innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. So we are doing this. And in the spirit of leaving no one behind, our members of faculty are also involved. And we also have mentors who are professional mentors from the industry. So we are creating an enabling and robust ecosystem aimed at catalyzing a sustainable research and innovation in the universities and in the community.
Probably DVC, because you're in charge of research, innovation and outreach, what are some, maybe do you have some, courses that that are research-based and innovation, that encourage innovation in order, we understand we are moving into a technology world. We're moving, like I said, a world where people do not have to rely on jobs. So have you integrated this into the curriculum?
Yes, we have done that. KCA University is a globally competitive business and technology university of choice, locally and internationally. And what we have done through mainstreaming, working with the industry players and the students and other stakeholders, we have mainstreamed entrepreneurship into our curriculum. Right from the time that the students join here, they are introduced to being entrepreneurial in whatever they are doing, moving forward. By the time they are graduating, already you'll see in them, and they are here, you can talk to them, you see in them that their focus is not on seeking to be employed, but they are job creators themselves.
Yeah, a quick one. We understand that one of the challenges that they have, I've seen a lot of innovators here, they've been showcasing since morning. One of the key challenges that they highlight is lack of funding, and they would seek partners in that world to sponsor their things. Is this function, it's a 4-day function. Do we have such programs? So are you going to link them up with some of these partners?
So the idea behind exhibitions is to give these innovators an opportunity to be seen. And we have so many investors on campus now walking around, scouting to see. We also have panel discussions going on. And the idea is to position our innovators in a way that makes them attracted to any form of funding. I should mention here that the university recently launched
Now, to another function that I do understand earlier, where we do know that President William Ruto was speaking. It was the launch of the East Africa Device Assembly of Kenya. Of course, the president stating there that we do not have to import smartphones into the country. We need to make our own. Alan Oko, I do understand, is on standby from the area. Alan, what else did the president promise to the tech world?
We are at the heart of the East Africa Device Assembly Kenya, where Kenya has just launched its first devices, its first mobile phone devices, and affordable devices at that. Here we witnessed President William Ruto just being taken around the facility and being shown the test case scenarios of how these mobile devices will be in Kenya's hands, where he was shown exactly the kind of stresses each user uses the phone in its life cycle, and we discovered that indeed they do go through the normal kind of international standard mobile phone device chronology. We also saw the Ministry of Health represented here by the CSO Health, Susan Nakumucha, just talking about how the devices, being the first customer of these 100,000 devices, going to help with the agenda of community health initiatives, where the community health representatives from the Ministry of Health will be going door to door to assist various Kenyans with their health issues, and the data will be input into these devices. These devices are important in that they are helping with a digital transformation. The President did mention that he is looking at a situation where all government devices are able to be accessed digitally through the phone, and he insisted that although the phone now is starting from 7,999 shillings, he's looking forward to a point where the phone will now even retail lower than 5,000 to up to 2,000 shillings. And maybe I should give you a feel of what we have seen here. Behind me we have a showcase of the devices. This is the exhibition hall, and we have here the software is very light, it's not bloated at all. You can access Yes, it does take a selfie very well. So the device.
Unfortunately, Alan, we do have some technical glitch from your end. That is quite unfortunate. You're showing us the first mobile device that has been made here in the country. Of course, we'll have for you more in our subsequent bulletins. Still within the business domain, Kakamega County Investment and Development is urging investors to set up shop in the devolved unit to tap the diverse business opportunities. Speaking at an SME Expo held at Buhungu Stadium, Kakamega County Investment and Development CEO Elizabeth Alichi said the rich cultural diversity and natural resources in the area could be harnessed to create wealth.
We are very interested in penetrating this region, understanding the area better. Kakamega is the home of Kakamega Forest and the home of botanicals. This is the only rainforest in Kenya with a lot of resources that we can harness.
The reason why the expo has been brought to Kakamega here is for us to ensure that we are in support of businesses and SMEs in the county levels. Bringing business and growing businesses in the county level is very important, and we realize that the market at times maybe in Nairobi is saturated, and that's why we bring the expos to the county levels.
It is important for the local entrepreneurs to network with the rest of the country and even internationally.
Also, Toyota Motors produced 900,919 vehicles in September, boosted by stronger demand in Japan and the United States as Europe as well. The Japanese automaker's domestic production, which accounted for just over a third of the vehicles produced during the month, offsetting a 3.6% decline in overseas output. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the globe.
The world's biggest automaker by sales reported an 11.6% jump in global sales in September to 921,308 vehicles. This means Toyota has sold more than 7.5 million vehicles during the first 9 months of this year. Domestic sales surged 20.5% in September, while those in United States rose 14%, and sales in Europe were up by 18.1%. In contrast, output and sales in Thailand, Indonesia and Vietnam fell in September due to tougher economic conditions. In China, the world's biggest auto market, Toyota reported a 7% decline in production, even as year-on-year sales slightly increased. Elsewhere, Israeli farmers along the border with the Gaza Strip are struggling with a labor shortage amid the escalation of Palestine-Israel conflict. The border area in Israel is filled with crop fields and dairy farms, making up a significant part of the country's agriculture. But since the escalation of the conflict between Israel and Hamas, foreign farm workers have fled for their lives, while Palestinian workers who have worked on Israeli farms for years are banned. The Israeli Farmers Association says about 75% of all the country's domestically grown vegetables come from the Gaza border area, along with 20% of the fruit and 6% of the milk. Along with labor shortages, some farmers are not allowed to enter their fields because the land has been turned into restricted military zones. Finally, a Hong Kong High Court judge has given crisis-hit Chinese property giant Evergrande one last chance to come up with a new deal over its huge debts or face liquidation. A winding-up hearing, initially scheduled for Monday, was adjourned to December 4th. Justice Linda Chan said it would be the last hearing before a decision is made. Evergrande is the world's most indebted property developer with more than $325 billion of total liabilities. Evergrande has defaulted on its debts 2 years ago and has been working on a new repayment plan ever since. Justice Chan said Evergrande had to come up with a concrete proposal, otherwise it was likely the company would be wound up. She said a liquidator would still be able to negotiate with creditors.
And now finally, let's get sporty. Nyahururu-based Michael Kamau and Joyce Wanjugu are the winners of the inaugural University of Embu Endowment Half Marathon. Kamau clocked 1 hour, 3 minutes and 58 seconds to win the race, relegating Kennedy Muhia and Derek Chege to second and third positions respectively. In the women's category, Joyce Wanjugu emerged victorious after clocking 1 hour, 17 minutes and 41 seconds. Flomena Chipchirchir and Nancy Githaiga completed the podium dash. Nicholas Kiplimo won the 10-kilometer men's race, while Mary Ndugu bagged the ladies' title.
Fanyia mazoezi Nyahururu. Ndio leo imekuwa mzuri. Mzuri kwa preparation ya cross countries.
Tunataka sasa pesa. Tuweze kuweka academies, tuweze kuinua wale watu katika dietary, na huku naona kuna potential kubwa ya kutoa world recognized athletes. Mimi nitakuwa mstari wa mbele kushikilia watu wetu.
Pesa ambazo zitakuwa zikisaidia watoto wetu ambao wana uwezo wa kusoma, na alafu kuna fund nyingine ambayo inatengwa kando ya wakimbiaji au ya watu wa sports, na ndipo aswa tumesema tushikane na university vizuri.
Elsewhere, Wydad Casablanca and Mamelodi Sundowns are each 90 minutes away from the African Football League final after both sides secured wins in the first legs of the semi-final clashes. Casablanca and Mamelodi recorded 1-0 wins over Esperance and Al Ahly respectively.
Amloud is making those runs, but
a second half goal from